Hi all, I'm Trisha Peach, host of the Peach Buzz, and I'm so glad you came back to see us again today. The channel all about children's youth ministries and things having to do with ministry. And I hope you really liked it when we talked about ways to better connect with your senior leader. We're going to talk about a few more ways to better connect with your senior leader, but before we do that, will you please like and subscribe down below for more content like this? I come out with new videos all the time, free trainings that you can do with your team. I love doing what I do. So let's get started. All right, so you've been hopefully watching last week's. I'll put a link to last week's right here. So that was to get started having a better relationship with your senior leader. I always say you can only go so far in your ministry at a certain church if you are a staff person. If you are a staff person, you can only go up to that certain ceiling. You can't go above your senior leader's vision for that area of ministry. They'll start to hold you down otherwise, or not understand that. So you have to have a good relationship with your senior leader. So without any further ado, 5 more things you can do to develop a fantastic relationship with your senior leader at your church. Number 1, be the best problem solver ever. And before you say, well, I'm a children's leader, we're amazing problem solvers. I already know that. I know you're amazing at problem solving. But what I'm saying is you need to get a reputation with your senior leader as the one that solves the problems. And I don't just mean in your own area. An older leader that I really admire, he told a story about a staff where they got a brand new youth pastor, and the new youth pastor was trying to get to talk to a senior leader, trying to build a relationship. And the senior leader in every staff meeting, he brought up the same problem. He said, I can't stand that wall. That wall is so annoying. I want that wall painted this certain color red. He wanted it a very certain shade of red, and they couldn't find the right shade. And the other staff were saying, well, that's that person's issue, or that one's supposed to do it. Well, we can't, they're not getting the right color at this place. So as the meeting ended, this youth pastor kind of quietly, he went over and got the lid to the paint can of the color that the pastor wanted, because he kept saying, why can't you get this one? And he took it to his local hardware store. They matched it exactly. He got the paint, but he didn't stop there. That night, he stayed late and painted that whole wall. It took like 2 or 3 or 4 coats to get that shade of red on that wall exactly right. Well, when the pastor came in the next day for work, his jaw hit the floor. He's in shock. He's going, I've wanted this for 2 years. Who got this wall done? And he finds out it's the youth pastor. And the youth pastor said, oh, well, you said you needed it done, so I got it done. Well, let's just say that youth pastor and the senior pastor began to have a much better relationship, because the senior pastor recognized this young man is not a problem causer. This young man is a problem solver. He sees a problem, he gets it done. And he also realized this young man is also all about the kingdom. He's about the church, not just his area. So in that one move, that youth pastor built quite a rapport with his senior leader. What can you do? Well, if you're thinking about it right now, can you identify the top 2 problems that your senior leader is facing right now? Maybe you can't. And then you may need to listen more, watch more, see. Senior leaders have so many things on their plate, and a lot of them you can't do anything about. But there may be something that you can solve. For me, as a brand new kids pastor, I took over some of the nursing home visitation for our senior leader, and he didn't have to. That was something I could take off his plate. I could deal with. And actually, I grew a lot in that experience. I met some fantastic people from our church in the nursing home visitation. But maybe there's something you can help solve for that pastor and build a bridge. That you're not just, I don't ever want to be seen as that area of the church that always needs help, even though we are the kids ministry area. So every time the pastor sees you coming, is that pastor thinking, oh no, what do they want now? Oh no, what happened? What caught on fire? What glitter was where? Oh no, who's quitting and leaving the church? So when they see you coming, you don't want them thinking, oh no, now they need more. I want my senior leader thinking, there's that one that helps solve problems for me. Maybe she has an idea. That's what I want the senior leader to think. 2, we need to stop assuming that our senior pastor is great at mind reading. Your senior leader is not a mind reader. We know they're so close to God. God's telling them everything. Well, you can't assume the senior leader already understands your whole situation and doesn't care. This is something I run into all the time. The children's pastor says, my senior pastor doesn't care that our sound system is garbage. They don't care at all. And I'll say, okay, when you sat down with your senior leader and asked them for help with it, what did they say? Well, I didn't tell them, because if they know, everyone knows, they can see it. And if they don't care, then they don't care. That's almost as bad as a spouse saying, well, if you don't know why I'm mad, I'm not going to tell you. We have to stop that. That behavior is ridiculous. A senior pastor has so many things on their plate. I tried to list some of the things. Okay, that kind of thinking is not helpful. A senior leader has all areas of the church. They have children's ministry, youth ministry, nursing homes, shut-ins, hospital visitation, sermon writing, lawn care, building maintenance, men ministries, women's ministries, safety and security, marriage ministry, young adults, new converts, marketing, Bible study, marriages, funerals, sermon responsibilities. There's so many things that your senior pastor has on their plate. It's not that they just don't care. More than likely it isn't. No, they should not just know everything that's going on in your area. That's why they hired you. So you're going to have to be direct. You're going to have to go be an excellent, frequent communicator with your senior leader. You're going to have to maybe wait a bit till your pastor can address your need, but don't assume they already know and just don't care. The one I run into the most is, my senior leader knows I'm overworked and I'm so exhausted, but they never tell me to go on vacation. Girl, you need to tell your senior pastor, hey, I'm going to take some vacation days. Here, I'm way overworking. Your senior pastor cannot keep track of all your work hours. Yeah, you would think they would understand that you're exhausted after carrying out a VBS, but they're probably waiting for you to say, I'm exhausted after this VBS. I won't be available these 2 days, and I will be gone this week on vacation. Why are you waiting for your senior leader to say, I've been noticing that you put in 62 hours this week with VBS and you're really exhausted. You are going to go on vacation next week, and I won't hear any argument. You're going, young lady, you're going on vacation, and you'd better take care of yourself because you're really overworking. Now, maybe you are blessed with a senior pastor that'll do that. I've had a couple of lead pastors that were phenomenal and would say, you've had so many outreaches this week. Just take an extra day this week, go home, chill. But I can't always count on them noticing that. That's for me as an adult to say, I'm stretched way too thin, and this is what I need to do about it. Now, if your senior pastor continually disregards that, disrespects that, and says, nope, you're going to keep doing 70 hours a week and I don't care, that's a different situation. But stop expecting them to read your mind. Some people work 80 hours a week and never seem to care. I can't do that. I cannot do that. I would burn out. You have to communicate, which leads me to number 3. You're going to have to over communicate. Why? Well, they say the average American needs to hear something 8 times before it finally gets through all of the noise that we deal with every day. The noise being the ads, the Facebook ads, the YouTube ads, the billboards, the flyers. We get bombarded with thousands of pieces of information almost every day. How are you going to get that through to your senior pastor? Well, let me tell you, a 12-second conversation in the hallway on the way when they're going up to preach is not going to cut it. It's not going to work. You're going to have to over communicate. You're going to have to be succinct. You're going to have to communicate well. That means you're going to have to have a conversation and then another and a follow-up and an email. You may have to, I kind of suggest reminding his administrative assistant if he has one or if she has one. Go talk to your administrative assistant. Send an email summarizing what you decided in the meeting and exactly what follow-up actions are needed. Send your senior leader a weekly, monthly page summarizing the wins and needs, whether or not they want to have that. You're doing your part by communicating. In each staff meeting, summarize the wins and needs of your area. When you're celebrating wins or asking for help from your teams or parents on social media, tag your pastor. So over communicate. I just assume whoever the senior pastor is not going to remember, and I'm going to have to tell them a few more times before it sticks. And telling their administrative assistant is a really good idea because they're the ones managing their schedule, making sure they're where they need to be. That would be a smart idea to also copy their administrative assistant on some of those communications. Grace. I think it's just a big word, big thing. We want grace. We need to give grace to that senior leader. Number 4. This is really important. Support in public, honesty in private. Okay, support in public, that means you're going to build that trust over time that when you have talked everything out and you don't agree, you're still going to 100% support that pastor in public. I'm just going to give an example. Let's say the pastor decided to add a third service on Sunday morning and you don't like it, you don't agree with it, and you really hate the time of it. When they're in public, nobody should know that you are not on board. Nobody should know that you're upset about it. Nobody should know, because you are supporting your pastor 100% in public. So I want to make sure that my teams don't pick up on the fact that I'm not happy about this, but I'm going to support my pastor 100% in public. Now, if you get to the point that you feel that you cannot support your pastor 100% in public anymore, and that can happen. Maybe they're doing something that you feel is morally wrong. They're wanting you to get in on something that's dishonest, or you realize you're going in two completely different directions as far as ministry philosophy, then that's the point where I would advise you to find a different place of ministry with a lead pastor you can support. So it should be with a lead pastor then that you do support, that you can wholeheartedly support in public. However, the second half of this is a harder part, at least for me and some other staff people. You need to support them 100% in public, but you also owe it to your senior leader to be 100% honest in private. This is something that I struggled with because I grew up in the Midwest. We don't want to argue, want to hide that, anger is not Christian, or you want to support your pastor 100%, but your pastor didn't hire you, hopefully, to just say yes to everything. Yes, that's great. That's wonderful. That's great. And then it builds and it builds. And you're like, I didn't want to add that third service. And I'm really stressed because I have to find kids ministry volunteers for that. And I don't think this is a good idea because I'm going to lose some other leaders. And you're not saying this to the pastor. But eventually that bad attitude begins to spill out whether you want it to or not. It begins to leak. It begins to explode. And then it comes back to the pastor, and the pastor says, well, we talked about this in staff meeting and you just nodded your head, so I thought you loved it. Your pastor deserves for you to be honest in private, even if you don't agree. And I have found this difficult, and it's something I'm getting better at. That just using this example, pastor brings it up, he talks about it, and then a lot of people are like, yep, that's great, that's just wonderful. I'll say, here's some press back on that, pastor. Have you thought about A, B, and C, that the kids area would really struggle, and these are the areas that we would struggle? This would be really hard for me to pull off, and here's why. This is another reason why it's a bad idea. We just made this change over here. And here's the positives I see. We are running into major space issues in second service, so third service, this would help. I get what you're saying. I understand. But here's some really bad. And then after we talk it through and say, okay, who's on board? Then if I am not, I would say, I really don't like this. This is really rough. But over time, the lead pastor then will know, okay, Trisha's still going to support me in public. I don't have to be nervous. She's going to support me in public. And hopefully, if I've made a reputation as a problem solver, that senior pastor will go, oh, this is going to be tough, and she's being honest with me, and maybe I need to look into some of her concerns. Hopefully, I've built that kind of rapport. But if I've built that kind of rapport, hopefully the lead pastor will listen to what I have to say and say, all right, maybe we need to wait a little bit on that third service launch. Or if the lead pastor then says, nope, I've considered all sides, I hear you, but we're still moving forward with third service, at least I said my piece. I said everything I could say, and I know how I really, really feel, and then I will go support 100% in public and build that trust. I think we skip the second part a lot. We try to show total support for anything and everything the pastor wants in private and public, and we let the resentment build and build and build. And again, hopefully the pastor hired you for your expertise in your area to speak up and tell the truth. You're supposed to tell the truth in love. And the pastor's asking, hey, how do you guys all feel about adding a lunch meeting a second day a week? And everybody just nods and smiles, and the pastor doesn't realize 2 or 3 people sitting at that table are really mad about it. That's not fair. That's really not fair. So I try to speak up and say, I understand we need another meeting, but our lunches are important. We already have one lunch meeting, and I already have plans on that day. I think that this would be a bit much. Could we do it on this instead? I want the pastor to begin to trust me to tell the truth, even if it's not what he wants to hear or what she wants to hear. I need to be able to tell the truth, but then God put the pastor in that position, so I'm going to support in public. Unless it's morally something I just can't anymore, then I'm going to leave. But even when I've left a church, I usually will tell that pastor, hey, I am going to leave, and this is why. These are the things that are unresolved that we just haven't been able to get past, and this is why. And I want to make sure that I did everything I could to make it work there, if that makes sense. And then last but not least, number 5, you want to build a better relationship with your senior leader. Lead with excellence. A good senior pastor is not going to be a micromanager. They're only going to micromanage usually if they're nervous that you might not know what you're doing, or if they're like, what is going to happen down there, because it does reflect poorly on them. This can be reinforced if you keep going to the senior pastor for every single decision, and you go to the senior pastor for every single problem, and you can't seem to get anything done unless he does it for you. And hopefully that senior leader hired you so they wouldn't have to do all of that down in that area, youth area or kids ministry area. It's frustrating for the senior leader if you're bringing every single issue, problem, decision to them. You're training the senior leader that you need them to micromanage your whole area. I think you need to train your senior leader that they can trust your judgment. And there's times when they're going to come in and make a call, but you need to lead and lead well. So when you look at your area and say, all right, what's going to be the best for this area? You need to be here. You need to be here. You do everything you can to solve the problem first and only pull them in. I try to only pull them in as a last resort. And most of my senior leaders have said, no, you can, I don't want a surprise. I don't want something to blow up and be a surprise. So I try to make sure it's not a surprise in their face. But I also say, all right, they hired me to lead, so I'm going to lead. I'm going to lead this area and lead it with excellence and get things done. I'm going to solve these problems, going to recruit what we need. I'm going to communicate well. And if I need help, I'll let you know. And typically pastors like that. They go, oh, because they've got so much else on their plate. They hired you so they don't have to figure out what to do with the broken toys in the nursery. I'm like, nope, if they're busted, we're throwing them. Pitch it. Throw it out. Okay, we've got the budget. Let's replace those toys. I'm not going to the pastor for something unless I absolutely cannot fix this on my own. And then I will tell that pastor, I did this and I did this to fix it already and it didn't work. This is what I need from you. We talked about that in the last in the last thing. Your lead pastor shouldn't have to run the kids ministry. That should be you or the youth ministry. Now, I've run into lead pastors in the past that are micromanagers that cannot let go of control. They cannot stop themselves. And over time, that gets really old, and you probably will have to find yourself a different place to serve. On the other hand, most of the lead pastors I've worked for have been awesome. They have learned, okay, Trisha's got this. She's going to take care of it. She'll come to me if it's something that she can't get done. And even if she doesn't agree with the way we're going here, she's going to get it done. She's a problem solver and get it done well. So I would just tell you, embrace that calling, embrace that mantle, and go lead. Lead that area, and don't ask the lead pastor to hold your hand every second. It's going to irritate them. All right. If you have any questions, please comment down below. How have you built a better relationship with your senior leader? Comment down below. I'm always looking for new ideas as well. Thank you guys for coming this week. Again, please like and subscribe to the Peach Buzz, and I will see you next week. God bless.